Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to demystify a really powerful framework that's changing how massive software projects get done. SAP Activate. All right, let's kick things off with a pretty high-stakes question. How in the world do you manage a massive, company-wide software project without getting completely lost in the complexity? I mean, the risks are huge, and for some of the world's biggest companies, getting this right is, well, it's everything. Well, for many, the answer is this modern kind of GPS called SAP Activate. It's a method for putting in SAP's biggest enterprise software, S/4HANA. And it totally flips the old way of doing things on its head. Think of it like this. Instead of building a house from a pile of lumber, you're starting with a beautifully designed model home, and then you just customize it to your taste. So here's our map for today. We're going to walk through each of these 6 phases, step by step, to see exactly how it works. And by the end, you'll have a really good idea of whether this approach is the right fit for your project. Okay, so first up, let's zoom out and get that bird's eye view of the whole journey. What does this modern implementation map actually look like? The whole SAP Activate journey is broken down into these 6 distinct phases. Each one has a super clear purpose, and it logically guides the project from just an idea all the way to a system that's up and running. So let's start at the very beginning. Any successful project has to start with careful preparation. With Activate, this is all covered in the first 2 phases, discover and prepare. This is where the team really lays a solid foundation for everything that's about to come. So first up is the discover phase, where all that essential groundwork gets done. And what's really interesting here is that this often happens before the project even officially kicks off. It's all about making those big strategic decisions, picking your partners, defining the scope, and getting the core infrastructure ready to go. Then we move into the prepare phase. This is all about getting the project team ready to hit the ground running. They gather those initial requirements, and this is so important. They select the pre-built business processes from SAP's best practices that are the best fit for the company. The system then gets all prepped for the hands-on demos that are coming up next. Okay, so now we get to the explore phase. And this, honestly, is where SAP Activate really, truly changes the game compared to those older, more traditional methods. See, if you've been around these kinds of projects before, you might be wondering, hey, wait, where's the blueprint phase? Well, with Activate, it's just gone. The whole philosophy has shifted. Instead of spending months and months writing a giant document detailing how the system should work, you start with a system that already works. And this quote just perfectly captures the whole idea. Those pre-documented, standard processes, they are the new blueprint. You're starting with that working model home, not an empty piece of land, and that just dramatically speeds up the entire project. So what does this actually look like? Well, during the explore phase, the project team sits down with the business users and literally shows them these standard processes live in the system. The goal is simple. Show them how it works out of the box and then document any gaps or unique things the company needs. All that collaboration leads to a clear, prioritized list of what needs to be adjusted. And this whole process has a name. It's called a fit gap analysis. Now, it sounds a little technical, but the idea is super simple. The team is just systematically checking what fits perfectly with the standard and where are the gaps that need some special configuration or development. The result is that clean, approved list of everything that needs to be built. So, the requirements list is approved, everyone's on the same page, and now the team is ready for the realize phase. This is where that vision really starts to become a reality. This is what you might call the main build phase of the project. The team takes that list from the fit gap analysis and they just get to work. They configure the system, they develop any custom pieces that are needed, and they run multiple cycles of testing, everything from small individual parts to huge integration tests with real company data. But look, the goal here isn't just about building stuff. It's about getting that formal sign-off from the business. This is that critical moment where the business leaders confirm, yes, the system works the way we need it to, and the data looks good. We're ready. The system is built, it's tested, it's approved. We are so close to the finish line. And this all happens in the last 2 phases, deploy and run. Okay, the deploy phase covers all those final steps to get the new system launched. This means final prep, making sure everyone is trained, and of course, the big go-live event itself. But, and this is so important, it doesn't just stop there. It also includes a period of what's called hypercare, which is basically an all-hands-on-deck intensive support phase right after launch to fix any issues immediately. And that brings us to the final phase, run. At this point, the project is officially over. The system goes from being a project to just being part of the company's daily operations, managed by the permanent support team. The baton has officially been passed. So after walking through that whole journey, from the very start to the very end, you're probably asking the big question: is SAP Activate actually the right map for my company's project? Well, it really boils down to one thing. How well do your company's needs line up with SAP's standard out-of-the-box processes? If you need very few changes, the cloud version is a perfect fit. If you need quite a few changes, the standard on-premise version still works great with Activate. But if your business just can't adapt and needs tons of really complex, unique customizations, a more traditional build-it-from-scratch methodology might actually be the better way to go. And this right here, this is the crucial takeaway. SAP Activate isn't just a project plan. It's a whole mindset. It's about being willing to adapt to the standard, not insisting on building everything from scratch. It pushes businesses to leverage decades of industry best practices that are already baked into the software, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel. And that brings us to one last kind of provocative thought to leave you with. The absolute core of this whole methodology is starting with a pre-built foundation, with an answer. So, if we look beyond just software, could this approach, starting with a standardized working answer, be the key to unlocking innovation in all kinds of massive, complex projects? It's a pretty powerful idea to think about.
For more videos, please like, share and subscribe the channel SAP Gyan.